The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views and positions of the agency.
Welcome to DYCD Next Gen. I'm your host, Ryan Cooks. Our monthly podcast features the very latest on everything DYCD has to offer, and we will go right to the heart of the story, speaking to young people about the issues they face in their daily lives. I'm gladly joined again by David for today's discussion, and on today's episode, we'll be discussing Women's History Month. We're diving into the incredible achievements, struggles, and stories of women throughout history. We'll explore their impacts, reflect on the challenges they faced, and discuss why honoring their legacies is more important than ever. So let's get started and recognize the powerful voices and stories that have helped pave the way for future generations. Today's guest is someone straight from our DYCD agency and is here to share with us the stories. Denise Ramirez. Denise, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So let's get right into it. So tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. So I have now been with the agency 2 years and going on 3 months. I serve as the Associate Commissioner for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, also Chief Equity and Inclusion Officer. And my role is really to work across the agency with our units to advance equity in our organization and in the communities that we work in. So that means working across the organization to think about strategies that can reach the communities, that can further reach the communities that need our services the most, thinking about what are the groups that are not receiving our services that could be benefiting from our work. What are ways that we can have a greater impact to really uplift communities? And then also working internally to support our employees and think about ways that we can further develop and grow our employees in the agency.
And what made you want to pursue your profession? I'm just curious about that.
It has not been a linear path. Yeah, I was at an event today and a speed mentoring event for young high school females, and I got this question over and over again. So it's given me a lot of opportunity to think about my journey. I see my career in 2 tracks. One is the urban planning work that I did for a good part of my career, but the equity work, the DEI work, is something that started naturally. I feel like in high school, I was always involved in activities around advocacy, whether it was participating in marches and fundraisers, or, advocating for certain rights. I didn't know that this was a profession, to be honest, and I didn't know that this was what it was called. I just knew it was something that I naturally felt inclined to do. And then in college, I did my urban planning core work, but I always felt called on to take social justice classes. I'll be honest, at that point, I didn't realize I would at some point have a career in that. But the equity work, the advocacy work, the social justice work has been a constant thread throughout my career. And I do feel like it's just always been a calling. It was just something that was in me, no matter what I was doing.
Who is a woman in history who has inspired you and why?
I don't think it's one. I think there are a lot of women in my life that have inspired me. Certainly my mom has been a huge influence in me, the way she cared for our family and always went above and beyond for any of our needs. My sister has inspired me. She was the first one in our family to go to college. And so she was the first one to apply and to figure out how to navigate that whole process. So she helped open that path for me. The same thing, she was the first one to go to grad school. And so leaning on her and her guidance to figure out that process. But then thinking back, this was also a question I was asked a lot early this morning. Thinking back in my early years, I feel like so many teachers in school were role models and influenced me, and I was thinking about like specific teachers. I'm like, wow, the way that they influenced me, and I hadn't thought about this. I hadn't reflected on it for a while. So doing it today, I was thinking about, I had one teacher who influenced me in terms of like the science and maths. And then I had another teacher who influenced me in terms of her style and the way she carried herself. And then further on in college and in grad school and even after grad school, just teachers that took the time to go beyond the curriculum and give me feedback and give me pointers and really pour into me. So it's not one, it's just so many teachers that I've had along my career, and coming up and, as a young person, have really had a huge impact in my life.
Wow, that's great. I feel like it's the same way for me too. A lot of women have impacted my life, from my mother, of course, teachers, my sister, partner, and everything. So I definitely relate to that. What about you, David? Is it the same for you?
Yeah, I would agree. I would say my mother and sister have helped me, inspired me a lot to like go above and beyond and provide, as well as like teachers and other females in my life. Like my supervisor, she encouraged me to like go above and beyond, put my all into work I do at DYCD.
What are some of the challenges do you think women still face today, and how can we work towards overcoming them?
I definitely think that there's been a lot of progress made in the workplace, especially for women in leadership roles, women in non-traditional fields. When I went to urban planning school, I was like one of like less than 5 women in the program. But we've made a lot of progress. I definitely see in that field, there's been I see a lot more women participating. But in general, I think the area that we still need to make a lot more improvement in is the work-life balance. There's this idea of you can have it all. And I think sometimes as women, we might put pressure on ourselves to have the right family mix, to have the right job and the right career, and to network and to do all these things that we want to do. But we can't do it alone. And it's really important that we as women recognize the importance of having a community, having a strong network that can support us, and also knowing when to say, it's okay to let things fall apart. I don't have to do it all. To just take time for ourselves. Because I think sometimes we do put a lot of pressure on ourselves to juggle everything. And that's not healthy. But also, I don't think that's a recipe for thriving. I think we have to do better in terms of supporting the women in our lives, whether it's with childcare or home care or other caretaking activities and responsibilities, or other home responsibilities. I think about like in transportation, we call it the chain tripping. You leave work and pick up the kids and pick up food and all these different things that I know there are men in my life, my brother, my brother-in-law, who I see actively involved in supporting the women in their life, their wives, and others. But I think as a society, I think we still have more to do when it comes to that area of making sure that we have holistic support for women in order for them to thrive and continue to excel.
What do you believe is the most important thing that we all can do to empower the next generation of women?
Where do we start?
Where do we start, first of all?
So something I think the next generation of women are dealing with that I did not grow up with is the influence of social media and so much information that is bombarding young people these days. And I think sometimes the information that's coming at youth can chip away at their self-confidence and at their mental health. So I think about we definitely need to support young people and young women in their self-confidence and in helping develop tools to have a strong mental health and to be able to navigate this continuously changing environment. I think those are 2 areas that we really as a society, as an agency, as a community, as family members, we should all be supporting.
So Denise, how can workplaces such as DYCD and other offices better support women in leadership roles and career advancement?
One of the initiatives that I launched at DYCD that I'm very proud of is the Mentoring Leaders Program. Ryan was part of it in our first year, in our inaugural year. It's not a program that is only focused on women, but it is a program where I've seen the majority of the participants have been women. I think this year, 8 out of the 10 mentees are women. I think having programs like mentoring programs and other networking opportunities that allow those who are coming up to connect with executives, to connect with leadership and learn from and grow their network, I feel like are really strong ways for how we can develop the next generation of leaders. And just like we were poured into, pour into them, pour that knowledge into them and support them as they grow in their career.
Well, it's great that you found a way to kind of mentor the next generation, which leads on to my next question. In your opinion, how has the role of women in society evolved over the past few decades?
I think there's been a lot of positive movement. The event I was in today, I actually said to a few people, it was put together by the New York City Women Forward and Her Future, and it brought together over 200 young women from high schools in New York City to be mentored by over 200 women in public, private, and nonprofit sector. I wish something like that would have existed when I was coming up. I love seeing that type of opportunity. It was also great learning about the app-based mentoring opportunities and other ways that organizations are really helping to develop young women. I think we've seen that kind of work evolve is to me wonderful to see, and I think more of that needs to be done. Yeah, I think more of those connections, more exposure, so that young women and honestly young people in general know that they have options. I think that's continuing to elevate experiences and create those experiences. I think that's so much of what DYCD does. Like, we have so many opportunities for young people to get exposed to all kinds of experiences that can expose them to careers that they probably had never thought about. So continuing to do that work, I think, is really important.
What are your thoughts on sisterhood? Who are the women that you must rely on in your life?
I don't have strong thoughts on sisterhood, but I have strong thoughts on community and networks. I think whether you surround yourself with other women or you surround yourself with all kinds of people, I really feel it's important to surround yourself with a community of like-minded individuals who are going to help you get to the next level. And whether that looks like sisterhood, brotherhood, a mix, allyship with grandparents and older adults, all kinds of generations, it doesn't matter, mix it in. Whatever brings you joy, connects you to people that can really help you get to the next level. I think that's really important. And for me, I have had incredible women in my life. My best friend and I were reflecting recently that we're about to turn 30 years in our friendship. Next year will be 30 years of friendship.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm actually not going to say how old I am, but we're going to turn 30 years of friendship. And I was thinking about all the stages in our life that we've transitioned from wild spring breakers to serious grad students to in our careers and further on in our personal lives, the ups and downs. And she's the closest one, but not the only one. And so many others in what I consider my community that have been with me through different stages. I think it's important to have that, to have community, to have connections, and to continuously be growing your network of people who can help you grow into places and grow into to areas that you perhaps cannot do on your own, but you can have a guiding hand. So I would pitch for community, whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah, that's really impressive for 30 years. 30, I don't know. I just
you want to ask me how old I was?
No. Well, like, I don't know. I just find it really interesting that, like, community can last that long. Connection with people can, go for almost a lifetime.
Absolutely.
Because life just happens so much and gets in the way of many things. Not many people get to have that connection for so long. So
I do think that's important.
Was working for DYCD always the end goal? And what is next for Denise Ramirez?
Oh, that's such a good question. No, to be honest, DYCD wasn't on my radar, to be honest. I was serving as the Director of Strategic Planning for New York City Department of Transportation when Commissioner Howard reached out about an opportunity here. And I didn't know much about the Department of Youth and Community Development, but had an opportunity to learn and thought, okay, this could be a great opportunity to take the next step in my work. Having said that, though, what was interesting is when I did join, I realized that my early experiences actually were working with youth, working for nonprofit organizations, working with youth. So it was nice to sort of do that full circle in my career. What's next? I don't know. I think that's what I'm spending this year thinking about. To be perfectly honest, there's parts of me that think about, I've been working for so long, I'd like to take some time off and just kind of gather myself, and really plan out the next stage of my work. But then there's another part of me that's thinking, now more than ever, we really need people who are committed to the DEI work. So it's not time to let up. So I think right. Personally, I'm trying to figure out how do I balance those things, rest with the mission to move this work forward no matter where I am.
What advice would you give to young women who are just starting their careers or figuring out their passions?
A couple of things. The first thing I would say is pay attention to the work that gives you joy. Sometimes we focus on careers and career opportunities based on income, based on salary or benefits or other kinds of considerations. But I find that focusing on the work that brings me joy, that brings me fulfillment, has always led me to the right opportunities. That would be one advice. The other is not to be afraid of making mistakes. I often say to the teams that I work with, be willing to flow like water. You may have a vision of where you want to go, but it's not always a linear path or the path you thought it was going to be that's going to get you there. And so be willing to try new things, to deviate. Opportunities may come up that you may not have considered. Resources might come up. And that happens through a willingness to take risks and to not be afraid to fail and just get up and try again. I think the better we get at that, the easier it is to bounce back and move on to the next stage.
Thank you so much, Denise, for coming on to the show. We really appreciate it. And hopefully this brings more attention to Women's History Month and just keep on spreading that awareness. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great to be with you. Thank you.
This episode is about our outstanding women and men. In partnership with the NYC Children's Cabinet, DYCD recently hosted the Empowering Fathers Thriving Children Symposium at John Jay College. Fatherhood Initiative leaders and graduates joined elected officials to celebrate the city's major investment to double the number of dads served to 3,000. It's all part of Mayor Adams' priority of making New York City the best place to raise a family. Since the Fatherhood Initiative was launched in 2002, DYCD has been committed to enhancing children's development through programs that encourage fathers to become personally involved with their children and relate to their co-parents. The Fatherhood Initiative helps fathers reconnect with their children and develop essential parenting skills. DYCD partners with the NYC Fatherhood Working Group, and for the past several years has coordinated Dads Take Your Child to School Day, Mother's Day recognition, and Father's Day events. At the February convening, Mayor Adams spoke about being a father, and we also heard from former Deputy Mayor for Strategic Policy Initiatives and current Robert Hood CEO Richard Bury and many other partners who amplify this important work. Let's hear from some of the dads who attended and who spoke about how the Fatherhood Initiative has helped them build stronger families.
My name is Cesar Melenciano, and I'm with the Friends to Fathers program. A moment in the program that really changed my perspective as a father was the first meeting we had to get together. We get together in a group with a few guys, and we all get together and talk. And for the first time getting to know these guys, the first time ever speaking with them, the first time even ever speaking with my coach, it was a good experience because it felt like we've known each other for a long time. And the bond that we created and the connection that we've made and the talks that we've had just on the first session, it was a good talk. And that really changed my perspective to it because I know we all here, we're all one, and we're all trying to become on the same accord and just be a great young father.
My name is Pablo Guzman. I'm from the Bronx. The biggest change that I see from now to then is the fact that I'm more patient. I develop more patience because of not only the circumstances, the situation that I put myself in, but at the same time knowing that I'm doing the courting steps in order to basically make change. My biggest hope is to be there for my daughter overall. A little part of me, for an example experience, I've been incarcerated before, and I heard a lot of brothers' stories about missing out on the smallest things. Well, not even the smallest things, their 1-2-year-old birthdays, when they start walking their first steps, stuff like that. So just being there for the small moments, the big moments, just being there overall is something that's priceless, something that money can't buy.
My name is Jerome McNeil. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. The services that's been the most helpful, I would say, is the group classes. Because just knowing that you're not alone and other people out there gives me strength to keep going.
My name is Antonio Melendez, and I'm from the Bronx. One of the perspectives that changed for me as a father is seeing how many individuals are going through the same situation or worse that I'm going through. So, you think you go in there and you're the only one with a problem like this, but unfortunately there's many more people who are going through the same situation, and you try to influence them in a positive way. My biggest hope in the future as a father is just to continue to provide for my son, for him to grow up as a man with character, respect, and be productive.
I'm Ruby King, and I work for the Fatherhood program at BCS. A lot of guys come in, they kind of reluctant and sheltered and kind of put their guard up, and a lot of they got their boundaries, and they don't want to talk about certain things, and I guess it comes from whatever past trauma they have. But as they go through the program and they speak with other fathers and they gain support and counsel from their peers, they seem to open up a lot more, and it really becomes like a therapeutic session for them, where it's like a group of guys getting together and really supporting each other, and you could hear them really working through their problems and finding solutions within each other. So that's one of the main things I've seen in growth, is that their commitment to the program. I just try to let them know that it's a safe place. Nobody's perfect. Nobody has a certain script that they have to walk by. We just want you to come in, feel safe, and just gain support on whatever it is that you're going through in your life, whatever trials, or whatever good things you want to share with the group. I feel like we all can learn from each other. So the fathers usually just express their feelings, things that they're going through, and most of the time they all can relate. And within that, they usually are able to help each other or get new insight, a new perspective, or gain new tools that they could apply. So my main thing is just to come in and have an open mind to it and just support each other. There's no wrong answer, there's no right answer. Even when we get into a debate, we hear each other out, we speak, it's one mic, everybody hears each other, And that's really my only rule, just be supportive of your peers. I usually feel proud when I hear the guys tell me that they're seeing direct results from the program, whether that's their case being dismissed, and some guys aren't able to have custody of their children, so when they gain custody of their children, it feels good to hear that. Even when they come down to the facility and they're able to get haircuts or food or anything, just being able to help them makes me feel proud. And mostly this last group I have stresses to me that they were able to talk to each other and they didn't have anybody to speak to prior to. So when they went through things, they kind of just bottled it up and they suppressed it, and it affected their attitude and their mood. So being in program and coming to program twice a week, it gives them an opportunity, an outlet to release, and it really helped them a lot. So that's probably what I'm most proud of, just the commitment to it and just the engagement and interactiveness and just falling right in and seeing the results and just seeing how happy they are and like the uplift in the spirit.
Keith Howard, Commissioner for the Department of Youth and Community Development. Some of the biggest challenges I faced as a single father, just really understanding the role of fatherhood. I think when they discussed at the panel today, there's complexities and nobody gives you a guidebook and say, what does it take to be a dad? So learning exactly what it takes, understanding that there are generations and that has passed on fatherhood practices that may not be the best now, that you can be able to apply to your kids now, and understanding, where that works, where it doesn't work, and then being able to meet your kids at where they're at. Fathers are providers, yes, but they also have to be able to provide emotional support as well. I have nothing but fond memories with my kids. I took them to school every day. I picked them up from school as well. The time that I spent with them and continue to spend with them is the best time that I've had as a dad. And just chilling out with them, having conversations with them, find out what's going on in their lives, has made us and has established a real close bond. Me and my daughter, Maya, my son Tyler, we're thick as thieves. We're that close. And that's because I had to change, and that generational trauma that was spoke about is real. Mentoring is important. Accessing services like the Fatherhood Initiative that we have at DYCD is very, very important. Sitting down with fathers who have gone through things, fathers who are trying to go through things, mentoring, getting feedback, extremely important. You cannot do this job, and it's the best job in the world. You can't do this job just being isolated. The best job in the world. I get an opportunity to see young people and grow in their space, to be part of their world, their universe. The love is unconditional. If I was to accomplish nothing in my time on this earth, being a good dad, that's the most important gift that I could achieve.
For more information on DYCD, check out nyc.gov/DYCD, or be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Join us again next month for another episode of DYCD Next Gen. Once again, I'm Ryan Cooks, and thank you for listening.